No, I'm not. I'm not at the moment. I've just got way too much going on, and I just don't have the time. It's a good thing with all the other stuff that's going on. Lots of clients and writing the next Pandora book and stuff. So everything that's happening is good. It's just I'm really busy, so I don't have time to do the free interviews, which is a shame because I did enjoy it. But
I talked to a guy yesterday that made me think of you. Well, I obviously had you on the schedule for today too, so you were on my mind anyway. But he is a guy by the name of Glenn Stewart. I guess he's pretty popular in the space opera genre. At least he said he is. But he is popular like Garrett. What is that? Who do we both talked to him? Garrett.
Robinson.
Is it Robinson? Robertson, something like that. Kind of popular like that. Where he works his freaking butt off. But they both are trying to get like a publishing house started to get into corporate bookstores, and they're struggling still. So I just wanted to ask you how that is working for you.
With regards to Waterstones, not very well. Their website states that they are pro self-publishing, and I've noticed self-published books in there before, but mine just came back as an instant rejection. So
why?
Just the only reason that they gave me was that they didn't have the shelf space to take everybody on, because they get so many requests, which I can appreciate because the traditional publishing houses must send them an awful lot of books. So I appreciate that.
Not just you and all the other indies too, right? I mean, everybody wants to be legitimate at the end of the day. I mean, it's like a lot of great artists out there producing work, and like bookstores aren't going to be able to accommodate them.
Well, I have a couple of other sort of chain bookstores that I'm approaching, and I kind of figure if one or two of them agree, then Waterstones might change their mind and say, oh, well, if the other ones are, then perhaps for making money we should. So I'm just going to see how that goes. I'm not quitting, and I'm going to approach a lot more independent bookstores as well, because I want to support the local non-chain bookstores as much as I want to see my books on the shelves in Waterstones. Right. So
yeah, I don't think you should quit either. I mean, Howie has what we both would like to see happen, right? In terms of you are able to publish traditionally and have a an independent presence as well.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the goal, to start off indie, really enjoy it. If I get picked up, that'd be great as well. I'd love to call myself a hybrid at some point, and then do a little bit of both, the ones that the traditional houses will take.
That's what I'm wondering. Can you be independent and then go traditional, or do you have to go traditional and go independent?
Perhaps not with the same books. So I don't think very many of them would accept a book that you've already self-published.
Well, yeah, if you self-publish, it's done. You have to definitely come up with something unique, right?
Yeah, unless for some reason, like wool, the sales are just so attractive to the traditional publishing houses that they offer you sort of to buy that off you. But I think you would have to approach
them. Doesn't he? Every time you mention him as like, oh man, he's the aberration.
Yeah,
he's the one that it worked out for.
Yeah, but I think if it was a new book, say if I wrote something completely different, and just decided to approach some agents and some publishers, I can't see any reason, if I've proven myself as an indie to be selling books and shown that I have quite a good platform behind me and some regular readers, I can't see why they would say no, because I'm not really an unknown author anymore. I'm unknown to them, but not to the community that has been reading my work. So there would be a reason for them to say, oh, well, she's not going to have to prove herself because she's got all these people that are already reading the book, and the ones that are out are selling okay. And so I guess that's the good thing about being indie first, is you can actually prove your worth before they take you on.
I don't know. It's really interesting, right? I'm not an indie at all at this point. I have nothing published out there except for one tiny, tiny short story I pulled off Compounded a long time ago, just so I can do a rewrite on it. But I'm very nervous in terms of sending my stuff out to Amazon by itself. I don't know what it means.
Terrifying. It is terrifying.
Right. Especially now. If 2013, you're good to go, right? I mean, you're starting out the beginning. If you were with what's your face, who's your hero? The one over there in England. We talk about her all the time.
Do I?
She has a podcast.
Do you mean Joanna Penn?
Joanna Penn, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, if we were with her starting out on Amazon, yeah, we'd have a leg up, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think because we've kind of joined the game a little bit late with regards to publishing on Amazon, but I think no matter which way you publish, it's scary and terrifying and all the other
Oh yeah.
words used for that at the same
I
time.
just sent that novella in a couple days ago, and my life feels ruined now. I haven't gotten an answer, I haven't gotten a no, I haven't gotten a yes. I haven't gotten anything but just the black hole of sending the thing out. I mean, I know I'll get a response. Tor will reject me eventually, but
Yeah.
it's like it's the worst thing ever to send something out. It's just constantly on your mind.
But if you don't send it, you never know. It's like what I tell clients sometimes, that are looking to self-publish and that are really scared about going it on their own because they've tried and maybe failed to be with a traditional publishing house. And I just tell them that at the end of the day, it's like going for a job interview where there are literally thousands of people applying for it at the same time, and you've got to shine more than you've got to get the job.
100%.
So people struggle to get jobs when there's just 2 or 3 people going for it because, the credentials behind people and experience. So I think it's just about proving to the traditional publishing houses that you deserve that job. But that's how difficult it is, and it's just the way it is.
We actually I'm interacting with this random person on Twitter. I had her on the podcast. A really great interview with her, Rosella Lee.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not how you say her first name, unfortunately. But she won one of those contests, like pitch query over Twitter, 140 characters or whatever.
Oh yeah.
She wrote 9 novels before she got one published, and she didn't self-publish any of them. She sat on them because she figured that if nobody was accepting them, they weren't readable. I have other people who said the same thing. It's like, wow, it's dedication to.
You see, I agree that it's good to write so many books before you attempt to queer it, but I'm not going to agree that just because they've not got picked up, they're not good. Just to make that assumption. I mean, look at J.K. Rowling. How many times did she query with publishers before actually somebody agreed to take it on? It doesn't mean that it's a bad book. It just means that it's not right for that particular publisher. So it's good that she wrote 9 books and she sat on those 9 books, but
God, she was before this, right? Now, J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter yesterday. She just finished it, 50, 60,000 words, the end. She's ready to go. She's going to drop this thing off at a publisher. Now, does she, in 2018, go through 30 up-team publishers to get that thing published? Or does she say, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. Do we have Harry Potter then? Or does Harry Potter get buried by the slush pile of bullshit that's out there in the indie market?
It could go either way, because I guess, is it that nugget of gold amongst, the rest of it, or would it just drown? Would people actually know about it? Because without the publishing house's push behind her, would the reach have been as much? Like, would so many people have known about it and picked it up and bought it in stores? Because if she'd gone indie, those stores possibly wouldn't have taken it on unless she had the sales that she has now and proven that she deserves to be there and that they will make money. So it could have gone either way, really, in my opinion.
So interesting, because Garrett Robertson, not to smirch him because I've never read anything he's written. Well, I'd like to give it a shot, but I haven't looked at anything. But according to him, he's the best thing fantasy has going, right? But I've never heard of him before talking to him. So does that make him seriously very popular, or just in this little niche group?
I had heard of him before I interviewed him. When he was on your channel, actually, I was really impressed that you'd managed to get an interview with him. So I knew of him. I've not actually.
Accident. I just send like 1,000 emails out and like get one back. Yes, who's this random person?
I've not read any of his stuff yet, but his books are on my TBR list, as well as about 50.
He's one of those guys that write like 100,000 words in 2 months, right? And he tears through really cool. It's crazy. You can't imagine working like that.
I kind of like his whole outlook on independent publishing and like what he's trying to do. I really appreciate
he has a lot of energy. A lot of energy.
He seems really motivated and really just get stuck in and go for it. And, this is what we want to do. This is our mission and we're going to achieve it. So I really respected that part of the interview with him. But yeah, I think if you don't talk confidently and in your mind be the next best thing to happen in your genre, well, I think if you think you're the worst, you're not going to get anywhere. You've got to big yourself up. You've got to have that ego. Is that the right word for it?
You've
got to have that.
You are ego, though, aren't you? To put word one down on paper and say that I'm going to challenge Shakespeare. You know what I mean? I'm going to
Yeah.
challenge somebody who's already won a Pulitzer with my words. I told this to my wife on our first day. I'm like, how dare I think I'm going to beat some dude who just graduated with a creative writing degree from Princeton?
But
You know,
why not?
why not? Exactly. Is the way she said it. Why not? Why not?
Why not? I
What
mean,
makes you think that you're not better than that guy? You lived a life too. You just might not know.
I am kind of regret the fact that I didn't do creative writing at university, because I think I would have really loved it and really enjoyed it. But
You
at the same time, I also don't think that I absolutely needed it and that I'm a worse writer for not going. I think actually I produce some good books. I'm always writing. I think I have what it takes to get there, but it takes work to get there. I don't think that just because you have a degree, you're an amazing writer and you're going to get published within a week of finishing uni. I think it helps you to learn the skills and develop the thick skin that you need to take criticism. So, like I said, I really regret not going for that purpose.
But also, it gives you a sense of completion too, in terms of I have to do all of these things to get to my goal of graduating. It's not like I go to college and then I get a degree. It's like I have to bust my ass in these 120 hours worth of classes that all of them aren't creative writing classes. You know what I mean? Some of them suck. Some of them are math.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't look at myself compared to somebody that had studied it at university and say, oh, well, I'm the worst writer, because that's not necessarily the case, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
I wonder what makes somebody like, I don't know, like a Brandon Sanderson versus, oh my God, like a Bukowski. Bukowski didn't graduate university. He barely made it through, and he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite authors. I mean, he's one of the best poets America has probably ever produced. He's only written like 4 memoirs. But yeah, he didn't graduate. I mean, in terms of like, you bump your head against life enough, you're going to learn how to put it out on paper, I guess, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the best way to learn writing is to just write. I think if fair enough, study it and learn the skills and learn what the parts of the book are, and spelling, grammar, editing, what the publishing world's all about. It's fantastic to go and get that behind you, because then you've got the skills and the knowledge for when you do write that amazing book, you can then give it that push forward. But I think as well, equally, experience does that for you. Just researching yourself, just trial and error also does it for you. A couple of years worth of writing books, sending them out, getting rejected. Okay, never mind, let's write another one. Let's improve with each book that we write and send that out. And I think that works equally as well. But yeah, when you said earlier that, you know, it's somebody that's got all these credentials behind them and somebody that hasn't, I think that they're both equal. They've both got an equal chance at being this amazing author. I don't think it necessarily matters if you have the qualifications behind you to do it. It's writing, it's an art, isn't it? So
it's all about ego though too, right? Confidence helps so much.
Yeah, it does.
The guy
definitely.
from Princeton knows, right? I mean, he knows when he graduated high school, he was going to an elite school. Whether his mommy and daddy paid for it or not, he probably has that ego already. So he obviously knows that if he writes a novel, it's going to get published. But me, you know, you bust your ass against whatever, you don't know anything. You know, you could be working at McDonald's tomorrow.
I think it's all, as well, it's a lot to do with your drive. You could be the most amazing writer in the world and have 20 fantastic manuscripts, all worthy of being published, that publishing houses will snatch up, and just not have the drive to do anything about it, not have the oomph behind you to build a platform and learn how to write a mission statement, learn how to produce a press release, and just not be bothered about any of that, and for it to be wasted. It doesn't necessarily just, talent doesn't just necessarily mean success. I think you've got to have that drive behind you as well. So to be motivated and dedicated to getting there, and understand that it takes time and it takes effort and blood, sweat and tears. I think that is a lot to do with it as well, and luck as well. Bit of luck thrown in there.
Yeah, I think so, right? I mean, you definitely have to have luck, because I mean, what I've noticed so far is things crop up that where you least expect it, and you have to be willing to take these opportunities when they come up. I mean, yeah, somebody might read your work and they might love it so much they'll give it to their mom, and their mom just happens to be, you know, chairman of the Pulitzer committee, and you might win a prize eventually one day. But at the end of the day, you've got to keep your eyes open, don't you? you've got to constantly shoving your stuff under the people's faces.
Yeah, well, that's my top marketing tip anyway. If you don't ask, you don't get. So you've just got to try and fail until somebody actually says, yeah, okay, let's go for it, let's try it. And I think in some way the universe rewards patience and hard work. So if you're working towards it and you're not getting there, even if it's a couple of years and you're starting to get frustrated, don't give up, because it's just sod's law that you'll give up and the next day somebody will have said to you, yes, okay, let's do it. So in my mind,
just talking about that exact same thing 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Those are the exact same words that she used.
In my mind, it's the universe rewards patience and it rewards effort. So I think you've always got to be striving to move forward, even when you're getting kicked back all the time.
Well, come around to the effort, right? Yesterday, I'm talking to Glenn Stewart, and it was a good conversation. God, these dudes. I mean, he's like, Garrett and him could be brothers, holding hands with the energy they have. I mean, they're just crazy. This guy was just like, blah, 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 blah. He writes 100,000 words every 2 months too. But I wanted for the entire conversation, actually, after the conversation, I started thinking about, what did we talk about? We talked about this, marketing. We talked about what you do after you write the book. But we never talk about what happens while you're writing the book, right?
Yeah.
We never really talk about the effort that goes into it, because the mechanics are the most important part. 100,000 words, 2 months. Great. Good for you. What is it that you just wrote? Do you know? What is your character? I mean, what is it going? What happens? Is this part of the process or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think all of that is the majority. Well, in the beginning, it's the majority.
For him, yesterday it was, I'm going to be the best marketer in the world. It had nothing to do with being the best writer in the world. He likes to write. He has all these stories, but for some reason, that's not even something that he thinks about.
Right. Okay. So his effort and his worry and everything goes into the after bit, not the writing bit itself.
Doesn't seem like it, right? So, I mean, if I'm going to have a conversation about character, is it how to sell the character after you've already written them? Or what's the character? How do you add conflict, right? I was thinking about that in the car the other day. Does my story have conflict? The one that I'm working on right now. Does it have conflict? Is it passive? And when I talk to an author who is in indie, it doesn't seem like they're concerned with either one of those things. Typically.
I am always concerned with conflict in particular. I forget who it is that said it. It's like a famous author or somebody that basically said, when things get slow or boring, bring in the guy with the gun. So when I'm reading my work and I'm kind of thinking, this is something needs to happen here that's a little bit more interesting, something I need to inject some more oomph into the writing, that's when I'll go back and look at conflict and introducing more wants and needs in the character, because I think there's no story if your character doesn't want or need something, because they're not going to get from A to B if there's no motivation for them. So I think that as well is a big part of building characters. It's having the character want something or require something. And if you look at any book, there's always, whether it's wanting to find true love or wanting to get the ring safely across, I forget. Off the top of my head, trying to pull all these references.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of energy, though, you have that too. And you have the confidence also, because you're not in denial that you're doing it. You know what I mean? Nobody's telling you that you're doing it. You're not getting your stuff content edited, right? Nobody's going, Emma, you need to work on blah. You're just getting edited for grammar or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, not right now anyway.
you're in the writing phase. It's the hardest part.
Yeah, I'm still in the writing phase, but I'm also finding that editing, I think there's always something to learn. I think you can be the most talented writer and still have a lot to learn. I think you're never a genius when it comes to writing. There's always something else that you can learn or do.
That's what I want to do. I want to give these guys like the genius title. I want to say Garrett and Glenn are better than me because they've got something in their brain genetics that makes them more able to understand what they're pouring out of their fingers instantly. Because that's the narrative they're saying, right? I mean, that's what they're telling me. They're saying that they're writing things instantly perfect, basically.
Yeah, well, they might be better at something, but you might be better at another thing. You might actually be better at the sitting down and plotting part of it, or you might have
really good at sitting down. I'm mastered sitting down. I know how to sit down like better than anybody else on the planet.
well, there you go. You might be better at actually sitting down at the desk and saying, right, I'm going to write for 3 hours, and you might have that dedication.
They seem like they're champions of that too, right? I mean, in terms of effort and work ethic and doing it, God, I wish I knew quality. I mean, I want to buy one of their books, and I should do that right now because people love them. If you go on Amazon, they make reviews, don't they? I mean, they're doing everything right, 100% across the board.
But they also hire external editors. They hire beta readers, proofers, cover designers. I think
they're professional. I mean, that's what you do. They're matching every single step that the traditional guy is doing. They're doing it too. And they can throw the money at it. Dude said that he sold 100,000 copies. Dude, as in Glenn Stewart from yesterday, sold 100,000 copies of his book. I know he's not going to listen to this podcast, so I'm not even going to bother to edit any of the stuff out. It's not being disparaging. I actually do have a lot of respect for his efforts, and I do plan on reading one of his novels to see how good it is. You know what I mean? I mean,
that's an awesome amount of books to sell, though. That is a really awesome.
100,000 books. Yeah. He has a staff of 3. He says, and Garrett Robinson's the same way. I don't know if he has 100,000 books a year. But his wife doesn't have to be a daycare teacher anymore. You know, I mean, these are really important things.
But both of them as well. If this goes back to like however many months, years ago we actually first started talking, Bryan. I think it takes a lot of everything to become what they are. They're successful, but if you were to pull apart their success and study how they got there, it takes a hell of a lot of work. It's not just magic that
right. But you're not talking about predecessors, right? I mean, you're not talking about you came before them. Joanna Penn, Garrett Robertson, this dude, Glenn Stewart from yesterday, they struck while the iron was hot. Right, there was a hot iron. They beat the crap out of it, and now they're millionaires across the board. Glenn Stewart makes over $1 million a year. I would assume Garrett Robertson makes like half of that at least. And fucking, what's Joanna Penn make? She's a millionaire too, right?
But that to me is deserved, because if you look at the platform that they've built, if you look at the quality of the work that they produce and the fact that they're so prolific and constantly produce it as well. So people that enjoy the first book don't have to wait a year for the second, third, fourth. I think all of those things, plus just being a really nice person with a really great personality.
Yeah. She's got a great personality.
And that confidence. And I think all of that adds up to success. And if that's where it leads, well, it's well deserved, in my opinion. I think, you know, good for them, good on them, and to keep doing it.
The thing about Joanna Penn too is she has conversations with other writers too. She was part of the process that got a lot of people's careers going. I would say that she probably had a lot to do with Garrett, this guy, and Glenn's career, right? I mean, without her, potentially they wouldn't even exist.
Yeah, well, potentially. I think there's a lot of authors on YouTube that I've followed for a couple of years that have helped me. There's certainly authors like Jenna Moresi and Kim Chance. She's, I think about a year ago, got a traditional publishing deal. And it's these authors that share their journey and share their advice and opinions on things and give these little tutorials and answer people's questions that are part of everybody's success. And that's kind of why I do want to start the White Room again, but because that's the part of the reason why I want to be a part of somebody else's success, for them to say, you know, I did it because of all these authors that contributed the advice and supported me. So I think it is important that you follow these authors, particularly people like Joanna Penn.
I love my Mirage portion of this podcast because the name Mirage is so apt, right? We talk about success when we talk about those authors, but it's just a mirage. I mean, these people write 1 novel, 3 novels, 4 novels, they pop, and that's all history knows them for. They write 60 more novels after that, and nobody cares. Just those 4 that hit the New York Times bestseller list or whatever. I mean, the mirage of success is it's fleeting. I mean, I've talked to people who've actually sold millions of novels and turn around, they try to self-publish and they're barely selling 20. You know what I mean? What's the definition of success? And what's the definition of, I love talking to you because I get to hear a really great person tell me their opinions and you get to shape my art. Right at the end of the day, it's 100% selfish. And hopefully it's 100% selfish for you too, and you're getting something out of it. I mean, coming into the podcast, it's kind of like, but talking to you, and it's like, this is awesome. I'm going to get something out of it.
Well, I hope you do. But just talking about the success part of it and, you know, the definition of success. If you've ever seen the movie Elizabethtown, there's a quote in there that it's success, not greatness, that the whole world serves. And I have had this conversation with tons of people, tons of authors, friends, family members, as to whether they agree with that quote or not, and whether they agree that the world worships success and not greatness. And I must admit, I think I kind of sadly agree with it. I think if you've got that proven success behind you, the success then is easier to continue. It's not enough just to be great. It's not enough to be a great writer. You've got to prove yourself somehow.
What's all those parts, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
can't call yourself, number one, a great writer if you're not writing. And then if you're writing, what are you going to do with it at the end of the day? I mean, there are so many parts and pieces that go along with that make you great as a writer, and hopefully it comes to some kind of money. But that's the tough part, isn't it? Because I mean, success, you define it like that. It defines monetarily. I mean, it defines what you can buy your family at the end of the day.
I think in the creative side of things, I agree with that. I think, you know, you have to have the... Hello, are you there?
I am.
Oh, I thought I lost you then. You went really quiet.
No, I put you on mute. I was coughing.
Oh, okay, that's probably why.
I play with my mute button all the time while I talk.
Okay, I heard something go and I thought, oh, I think I might have just lost him.
Sorry about that. It must have caught it like right between two words or something.
No, it's fine. I've forgotten what I was saying, so move on. Because I've just completely forgotten what the hell I was
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
I mean, we were talking about
success, I think.
Success, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Are you satisfied?
By satisfied, are you asking me?
I mean, you've got a partner, right? You've got a house. You've got the life that you have. You have a job. You have successfully written novels. Are you satisfied?
I'm grateful. I'm not satisfied with my writing part of things. I think relationship and house and things that you own and job and all that are completely separate to the creative process, because that's something that's ongoing, that you're constantly doing, well, hopefully constantly doing and hoping to get better at. So I think home-wise, yes, I'm satisfied and I'm happy, but not necessarily with the writing side of things. It's
what would make you
satisfied? That I'm always... Well, do you know, I don't know. I think it's the word satisfied that I take issue with, because I think I'm always happy with the process that I'm going through, and I'm happy with my progress and the things that I'm doing and my little successes as I go along, but I'm always striving to do more and to achieve more and to build more. So satisfied doesn't really apply to me in that side of things, because I don't think I ever will be fully, because I'm always trying to learn and develop more. I'm happy with the things that have happened already, and I'm happy with potentially what's going to happen in the future, you know, with my goals and aspirations and things, but satisfied isn't.
I'm writing
an unusual word.
I'm writing a short story now, and I'm like, dude, I forgot how to write. I have no clue what I'm doing. I was like halfway through that novella that I sent you the first draft on. I'm like, dude, I have no clue if any of this is any good.
Well, do you know, it's funny because I'm writing The Resurrection of Pandora at the moment, and I'm so frustrated that I was actually going to write a blog post just titled "I Hate My Book," because it's getting to the point where I actually just hate it, because it's so, yeah.
Write it. You can't go anywhere. I mean, I wake up in the morning, it's like, what do I want to do today? I want to play. No. Stop. Write the dumb thing. Finish it.
It's like the wall that runners get to, you know, when they've run so far and they hit the wall, you know, the imaginary wall that they feel they can't.
I'm a runner, I know.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's kind of like that. And I don't think it's writer's block, because I know what I want to write. It's just.
I mean, at this point, writer's block writer's block is just laziness, right? I mean, it's just not pushing through the desire not to do it.
Yeah, I think sometimes if you write, I think pantsers tend to suffer more from writer's block than others do. I think if you have a plan and you know what you want to write, you're just struggling to put the words, I'm not really sure if this makes sense, or would it sound better if I wrote it this way? I don't think that's writer's block. I think it's just like procrastination and just general.
Since I developed like this huge body of work that I can go back into and pull stuff out of, you know, flash pieces here, microfiction there, a novella start, a short story, I can always pull a novel. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can always find that longer work. Just trying to find that novella that I just submitted. I wrote like 60,000 words on two other ones that I decided that weren't working right then, that needed more than 20 or 40,000 words to develop into a real story. So now it's like awesome. But back before, when I didn't have this body of work, it was horrible to sit down and write anything, because you had no clue, had no goal. You know, what am I working towards here?
as well, because the Resurrection's like it's like 4 books. It's 4 books in one, the same as Pandora was, Finding Pandora.
Is it 100,000 words at the end of the day? Is that how much it's going to be, or what's the length, do you think?
To be honest, I don't know. The book's kind of written already. It's just it's going through a rewrite, and I'm changing the voice, and I'm changing. It's not going to be I did this, I did that. I'm writing it now from like a God perspective. So it's taking work because it's such a huge job. And I think my problem is not actually doing it and working through. It's thinking of what's to come and all the stuff that I've got to work through, rather than what I'm actually doing at the moment. So I think if I stop looking at, oh my God, I've got so many pages left to edit, and just look at, right, let's just get this chapter done, it'll go a lot smoother. But the writer's block part of my brain, and the bit of me that just wants to watch TV and stuff my face with chocolate, is telling me this is too much of a big job for you and you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Why don't you just watch Rizzoli and Aiello on TV, or just watch whatever instead, and we'll get to it tomorrow, and we'll put it off and we'll do something else. So I think that
why do this, right? I mean, it's arduous. Yeah. I mean, why do this? Why you're pulling things from the ether that don't want to get pulled from the ether? And nobody cares that you're doing it either. Man, go back to that before moment when before you wrote your first novel, when you thought writing your novel was the most important thing you'll ever do, and never leave it. Never finish writing that novel, because if you do, then you realize that everybody in the entire world has a novel they're trying to sell.
Yeah, I think when you're just writing your very first novel, you feel like there are no other authors ever in the universe except for you. Yep. And then you join a Facebook group to sort of think to yourself, right, well, how am I going to market this bugger now that I've actually produced it? And all of a sudden you're swamped with millions of other authors that are all trying to do the same thing. And you feel equally as shite about yourself, because now you don't think you're ever going to get there, because all these other authors are going to get there first. Yeah. So I think being a writer in itself is harrowing, because at the very first point you pick up a pen, it's a nightmare because you're struggling to write the book. And then later on, it's a nightmare because you realize that you've got to struggle to market it. And then you get kind of a couple of weeks worth of, yay, I did it, and this book's out there and people are enjoying it. And then I'm getting reviews. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, I've got to start this cycle all over again.
And then look at the end. Terry Pratchett lost his R key. He lost his R key on his keyboard. He couldn't find it near the end of his life. He died of dementia. I'm not laughing at that, but I mean, you start out being a horrible hack and you die really searching for the abilities still to hack. I mean, we're not going to go to the grave, if we're lucky, with all of our faculties in place. You know what I mean? Things are going to go away, and probably writing is one of them. It's fine. It's fine motor skills.
But I just think it's something that if you enjoy writing, you should enjoy it as soon as possible, for as long as you can, before something like that happens, and you lose that flavor for it. And I think that's part of what plagues me every day, that I have all these stories that swim around in my mind, and I just know that I'm never going to be able to write them all in this lifetime. It's like the to be read list that I have. I have more books on there than I do years to my life. I'm never going to be able to read all the wonderful work that people produce, because I'm not going to live long enough to get through them all. So I think it's the same kind of, it's self-inflicted stress that you put on yourself as a writer to get the book out there, because somebody out there needs to read it. But at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying that process and you're not getting the most out of it while you have this ability and this passion for it, then there's no point, because it's initially you're the person that's got to write and read it, nobody else. It's you that's alone initially. So
it's so funny. I'm the type of dude that's writing a project and is mad at the project that he's writing because it's keeping him from the project that he really wants to be writing, which is the next project. Which, by the way, the next project that I'm working on right now pissed me off so much that I didn't write a single word this morning. I switched like a line break.
I think, well, I'm kind of like that with Pandora as well. I know the Pandora world inside and out. I've written in it for 4 books. I've got another 4 books that are ahead of me. And actually, in my mind is wanting to go on to this other awesome book that I've been plotting and that I really want to write. And I'm excited about that project as much as I'm excited about finishing this series. So I'm kind of torn as well. It's not that I don't love my Pandora stories, and it's not that I don't think the readers deserve them, because that's why I'm working to get them out. I want to complete the series. I want Ariette's journey to be finished and for it to be over and done with. But a part of me is still thinking, oh, there's something shiny over there. Let's go and investigate what that is.
I want to know what your shiny thing is. What is it going to be? Do you want to tell me?
I can't tell you.
The last shiny thing that you did was pretty freaking cool. I'm happy that you did it. The novella, Noah Finn
Noah Finn and the Art of Suicide.
Yeah, it was really fucking awesome. I'm happy that you wrote that. I'm glad that you're gonna finish Pandora. I think writing a series, man, that worked the muscle. I realize that I'm writing a trilogy, but has no characters that flow from one story to the next. It's just about a subject matter. You have actually taken a world and you've developed how many books? 4?
There's 12 altogether. 4 have been released. The next 4 I'm working on, and I'm actually going to just incorporate the last book in with this. So this one's going to be one hell of a big book, but it's going to incorporate all of the rest of the books, because I think releasing a paperback trilogy with 12 books it's a big series for a young adult series. So I want to kind of condense that into 8 books with 2 paperbacks. But make sure as well that when I rewrite it, I include all the things that need to happen, but, you know, do a lot of cutting and replacing of the stuff that perhaps is just in there for the sake of it. So yeah, it's going to be a big job, which is why I'm kind of regretting deciding to do it. But the ball's rolling and there's no going back. So.
Well, you just went dark for a little while too, didn't you? Just took a little break from it all.
Yeah, it's no big secret. I have anxiety. I suffer with anxiety. My readers know that. My family and friends and everybody that knows me knows that. And I had a bit of a struggle with my anxiety and decided that my health was more important than anything else. And so I basically just took a break. I walked away from responsibilities. I walked away from writing. I walked away from anything that wasn't actually necessary, that I just did because I felt I either had to or wanted to. And I forced myself to relax. I forced myself to learn how to cope with my anxiety and deal with it. And I think I'm better for it. I think, you know, if you don't have your health, you've not got anything. And I just decided that I just needed to fix myself before I could fix all the other millions of things that were going on in my life. And that if I couldn't help myself, I couldn't help anybody else get through that. So yeah, I just prioritized that. I feel so much better than I did. Still progress. It's still like an ongoing, I'm not going to use the word journey because I hate it when people describe stuff as journeys. But I feel it's ongoing, and it's something that I'm going to have to work on to keep up to, and not neglect again. And then now that I feel great, I can then start to bring in the other things that I had to let go temporarily and take them on one by one and not overdo it. Because I think I was just a little bit overworked as well. I think I had too much going on, too many balls in the air, not enough hands to catch them all with. So that's where I am now.
I mean, I look at my efforts with this podcast and wonder, you know, should this be something I continue doing? You know what I mean? It helps to educate myself with these conversations. I like it, but I mean, there are a lot of other people doing the same exact thing out there, right? White Room was an example. I mean, did you get any fulfillment from having putting those episodes up? And do you feel like there was a reason for you to continue doing it?
I very much enjoyed meeting the authors, and I think we both got something out of it, knowledge-wise and friendship-wise as well. I'm friends with a lot of the people now that I interviewed, and we keep in touch and we support one another, and that's gold. That's valuable to me.
Right.
In relation to promoting books and selling books through it, probably not so much. Probably not so much.
Drive traffic to my website.
No, I don't think. I think not so much. I think the readers of the authors that are on there go and watch it,
100%.
perhaps subscribe, and they get some benefit out of it.
The authors do. Like, they'll subscribe to the channel. The authors will. Not the authors will. Really.
And perhaps their biggest fans will go and watch the interview. But you can always tell as well when you watch an interview with someone who has the platform already set up and whose readers are interested, because there's more viewings, there's more comments, there's more participation and engagement.
Yeah, they're energetic, right? I mean, I don't get comments, but I mean, the authors themselves, they just really hit those retweets. I mean, you can just see the people just start flooding in. And also the professional people, they don't do anything. It's all the straight up indie people that do the marketing. Like, I had Daniel Abrams on my podcast. You know, what's his name? The guy from The Expanse, who wrote half of The Expanse or whatever. And he didn't, you know, respond to me telling him that I published his video or whatever. So it was kind of like, oh, I'll talk to you, but I'm not going to do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, well, it's difficult, I guess, because
A lot of people are like that. Even like I talked to Ken Scholes, he's like that as well, where he's great to talk to, but he won't retweet or anything like that or post the interview for his followers to look at. Because at the end of the day, it's really not about me. And I really wish it was more interactive.
yeah, well, I'm British and we feel rude for everything that we feel we should be doing that we don't do. We feel rude, so we do it anyway. So with me being British, I guess you could blame it on that. I retweet everything, I like everything, I comment on everything, because at the end of the day, that person's taken time out of their schedule to help me and to get to know me and to do me a favor. So I would, if that was me, I would be expecting me to do to have some kind of involvement. Doesn't need to be broadcasted around the whole world. I don't need to go on about it for weeks and weeks, but to just share it and say, hey everybody, I was on this awesome podcast, please go check out the channel, did me a massive favor, and we talk about some really cool things, and perhaps, if you like the channel, give it a subscribe, this person's really cool. And that to me feels like a responsibility, because I would feel rude not doing that if somebody had taken the time to interview me. But that's just me. That's just my personality, my morals, values, whatever. And people are different, and people expect different things. So
I don't know what what are your plans going forward with your? I mean, I know you're working on Pandora's Resurrection.
yeah,
When you say Pandora's Resurrection, that's the actual title of the last selection of books, right? That's not like a euphemism for resurrecting Pandora as a series.
No, it's Finding Pandora is the first sort of, the characters are getting to know what's going on with Pandora's box. Finding Pandora's box, it's called Finding Pandora, and settling down and figuring out the next stages of the life. And then the resurrection of Pandora is, they think everything's all fine and dandy, but of course, well, the shit's going to hit the fan again. So the resurrection of Pandora is actually Pandora herself and the box being resurrected from the calm that once was in the first book, really. I can't go into the details too much because I'll give away the storyline, so there's no point. But yeah, I'm working on the resurrection of Pandora and what would have been the rise of Pandora, but obviously I'm going to merge them if I can. I have quite a few editing clients and self-publishing clients that have come to me for coaching and services. So that's ongoing, and it's really great to get to know people and to practice my own skills as well. It's always good to have those editing skills in the front of my mind, because then when it comes to my own book, I have it fresh and I know what to look for. It's great to make some content and build those relationships. And then potentially some YouTube videos, vlogs, advice videos, but I'm not doing too much too soon. I'm just going to take it steady, write my own book, sort out these projects for my clients as well, make sure that they're all happy, and then see where I can go from there. School visits and stuff as well, hopefully.
Well, I was going to ask, yeah, what's your I mean, the school year here is about to start off. How about in England?
I think it's kind of September time. So
are you going to be back in class immediately, or just setting up conversations with teachers to potentially get in there and talk to the kids?
A little bit of both, really. I have one or two that I know already want to see me, already have kind of plans for me, and then a couple more that were interested that I've just not heard back from, because obviously they're now on holiday. It's their holidays. And then a few that I've reached out to that I'm just waiting to hear back from for the same reason. So it'll be interesting to see how many schools I can work with and how many kids I can inspire this year and work with to produce some more books, hopefully. Even if it's just things like career day talks and just our inspirational, who I am and what I do and who wants to be a writer and this is what it's all about. That'd be good. So I'll just wait and see what the schools want, and then just tailor my subjects of discussion and the workshop to their needs.
As the father of two toddlers, I have to say, kids love stories. They want to tell stories. They want to constantly act. I mean, these guys, they're a little over 3 now, and man, they're just so cool once they're playing. I mean, obviously, if we put a screen in front of them, they're like mesmerized, and it makes me feel horrible as a parent. But I mean, if they're playing, they're constantly telling stories, and it's really amazing and sad that it's not in school more.
It's because I think it's because they've got this innocent imagination where they don't feel embarrassed to create this story. They don't feel like they have to edit the story. They just create it and live in it and enjoy it, and then dump it and move on to the next. And
you should have a job at a school teaching kids creative writing. There should not be something that you don't have. It should be something that's there. You know,
well,
it's unfortunate.
For that, I'd need a teaching qualification or a degree of some kind for that. Quite rightly so as well. If you spend all that time with children, you should.
I gave it to you. I'll send you a reference letter right now. I'll print you out a certificate. What else do you need? The government, man. We'll just make our own government.
That it'd be nice, wouldn't it? But I think
you could be the queen of the world. I'll tell you what rules to make. How about that?
I think that would be good. But I have friends that are teachers and teaching assistants, and they also kind of pass on their wisdom and their experiences to me as well. So I get quite a lot of training effectively from them. You know, they'll find out I'm going into a school and they'll say, oh, well, you know, this might be a really good thing to do. Or, you know, if they're not listening, we do this in our school and it really gets their attention. And, you know, so I pick up little things, little skills that way. But as well, when I go into a school, I'm a guest, I'm not a teacher, and I want them to see me as a guest, as a friendly external person, not somebody that's going to tell them to be quiet and sit down and open up the math book, you know. So I want to have that different relationship with them than the teacher does, but equally teach them as much as I can. So
that's cool. I wish I could do something like that. I just have no desire to mess with the bureaucracy of this horrible system. I just don't want to do it. And I really don't know if I want to interact with teachers. I hear they have a miserable existence over here in, you know, New York, New Jersey area. Just, I don't know. I mean, are they getting treated good in your area of England? Are they happy being teachers? Or
the people that I know very much enjoy doing what they do. I think it's like any other job. It's stressful. There's a lot of, you know, marking books and stuff. It's long hours. It's you're always concerned for the children's safety and are they learning stuff and are they meeting what their exam requirements are. So I think there's a lot of things that put mental stress on teachers, but all the teachers that I know and the teaching assistants I know absolutely love their job because they get to work with kids and inspire them and stuff every day. So I don't know.
You know what's really cool about you is that you've navigated your way from this public persona that you're developing still. I mean, I guess it's an everyday thing, whether you put YouTube videos out or not. I mean, you go in the public around your town. You've met with your mayor. I mean, you have passion for this storytelling, and it would be neat to see you kind of maybe even go in that direction of politics and making things happen in your community.
You're joking.
Why not? You've got, you know, they say that people with anxiety are the first ones to rise to the occasion, are the first ones to step to the microphone, are the first ones to do the hard thing.
Who are these people?
Because every single day, the smallest little minute detail is hard for you. When you've got to stomach the same feelings, regardless of whether you're speaking to a crowd of 200 people or whether you're waking up to take out the garbage or go to the store to get milk or whatever. It's the same feeling. You know what I mean? It sucks. But you still stand up and you deal with it, so you can meet the mayor and shake his hand and look him in the eye and have a fucking awesome conversation.
Yeah, I don't think when
you get like a gallon of milk or something.
I don't think having anxiety makes it any easier to do those things.
No.
It's public speaking's a nightmare for most people, but you do it because personally I do it because I find that forcing myself into these uncomfortable situations helps me to overcome part of the anxiety. You know, you do it, you sort of go, well, that wasn't that bad. I survived. Nothing horrible happened. There was no reason to be anxious. Let's do it again. And I'm still anxious the next time, but a little bit less so because I've been in a situation like that before and I know roughly what to expect. So I think having anxiety doesn't make it easier, but it does kind of prepare you.
It sucks anyway, doesn't it?
It sucks anyway, but it does kind of prepare you a little bit.
It helps you do the stuff that you're able to do because you've already, I don't know. It's really fascinating. I mean, do you have desires? I mean, obviously you can do the things that you need to do, press the palms and shake, whatever, sell things, smile, be there. Have you thought about getting involved like that?
And
will you be America's president? I don't.
Well, I'm British, so no. No, I'm not going to be.
The guy we have right now is a buffoon. We need a new one quickly.
Well, but I'm not politically minded, so I wouldn't be ideal. Not even really.
Even for education, even for, you know, stepping up for the arts or other artists or writers.
Well, I don't particularly want to have to represent one thing. I think it's just something that generally should be focused on. It's not that I'm not going to stand up, power to education, because in my mind, that's already important and it should be important to everybody. And it is what it is. So I don't know. I encourage it wherever possible. I talk a lot about it. I visit as many schools as I can. I engage with as many kids as I can. And I also, when I'm doing events and meeting people, when they say, oh, so-and-so that I know wants to be a writer, or my little girl's been writing stories and she loves it, they straight away get my card and they get an invite to contact me at any time with any questions that they have. If it helps to push that child into creative writing, then great. If not, and they never contact me ever and they choose not to, then fair enough. But that option's there for them to open up the potential help that they can get to achieve what they want. So that sort of thing I do, and I do often, but speaking up for a community, I just don't think that's something that is in me. I don't think I'm capable of that. And I don't think I represent enough people to do that.
You give a community voice. I mean, you are giving a community voice. You're giving those kids a voice by allowing them the skills, the tools necessary to write stories. You gave me a voice, right, by inviting me on your podcast, or I don't know, did invite myself. I don't remember what happened exactly. The idea of having this podcast, you said you should, and you were just being kind. But I said, what? Why don't I do that? And I did.
I think I like.
You're just you do that, and that's awesome. And at the end of the day, you don't even mean to do it.
But right? Being an encouraging person and somebody that pushes people forward or encourages people forward rather than putting them down isn't hard. It's not.
No, it's easy for you because that's what you're.
It's an easy thing for anybody to do. If somebody says, I've had this idea in my mind for a while, I'd really like to write a book. Those people that say, what the hell would you want to write a book for? When are you going to have the time to write a book? And what are the ideas going to be about anyway? That's not, to me, that's just rude. It's just unhelpful, unsupportive. It's not very caring, especially if it's family and friends. So to me, my answer to that is always, well, why not? If you write it and you don't like it, nobody has to see it, but why not do it? It's something that you clearly have been thinking about. So get it out of your system, see how you feel. And if you want to go forward with it, then go forward. And that's always my view of it, that give it a go at least, and then make a decision later on if it was something that you want to continue to develop or if it's something you want to just trash. So
interesting though, right? I mean, is it a delusion or is it a fantasy? Because I mean, if it's a delusion, you're not doing anything about it. If it's a fantasy, then every single once in a while you write a story. You know what I mean? If you've never written a story before, then you're just playing around.
I think wanting to be a writer is neither of those. I think it's just perhaps an aspiration. It's something that you just want to have a go at. Some people say they have a bucket list. I want to jump out of an airplane. I want to get a tattoo. I want to quit smoking. I want to, all these things that people say they want to do. That's all it is at the beginning. It's just something that they've thought about doing, that they want to do. Until you actually take the first step to do it, it's a dream, it's a fantasy or whatever. But when you actually do it, then, it changes. So I think writing a book is the same. Some people have writing a novel on their bucket list. They want to write a full book. Whether it's good or not is besides the point. But they want to write a book, and that's just something that's on their list. So why not?
I want to run the New York Marathon. I can barely run 4 miles. You know what I mean? It's still a fantasy. I'm not delusional yet until I lose my legs in some kind of horrible accident or something. Working towards it.
Nice and depressing, though.
That's my job. If I could put some levity into my work, I think I could go far. Take out the depressive nature, the bleakness of it. I think I'd go really a long ways. The guy yesterday said that humor plays a big part, right? I mean, in terms of your writing your stories, I mean, you have to have these things that people want. You have to have your comic relief, your R2D2 and C3PO.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have that stuff. Man, it's been nice talking with you. It's been a long time.
Thank you.
I'm happy that we were able to recover a moment to kind of chat and find out where each other are.
Yeah, me too.
What are you reading right now?
I am reading the 7th book in a series. It's called The Enemy by Charlie Higson. I think it's a young adult series, actually, but there's some quite sort of disturbing stuff in it. It's not technically a zombie book. It's more of like a plague post-apocalyptic series. And I'm actually on the last book that is just coincidentally named The End. That's the last book, The End. And I'm reading that at the moment. And then I will be reading The Meg, about this, you know, the movie that's coming out with the shark. I bought the book, so I'm going to give that a read and see what that's like.
Oh, is it a movie based on is it a novelization of the movie, or is it?
No, it's the other way around. The book came first. It's the movies based on the book. So.
When did you get into the series? Was it at the beginning when they first started publishing it, or did you just read all through seven books of it?
I bought all three in like a discount store. There was three in like a set, the first three. For really next to nothing. It was like £5 or something for the 3 books, because I just thought they sounded cool, and you know, they'd be nice to sort of read here and there. And I read the first one about a year and a half ago and really enjoyed it, but then just got sidetracked and never picked up the second one. So then when I had some time and sort of the summer started, I decided I wanted to read them all again. So I just picked up the first one, reread it, and then carried on straight through because I was so addicted to them. So
well, that's good. I want to be addicted to a book. I cannot get into a book to save my life lately. I'm reading so many. I'm reading Helter Skelter.
All right, okay.
It's really well written. I like real crime stuff like that. In Cold Blood was a fantastically written book. Truman Capote, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. Really brilliant. Where do you want people to interact with you on the World Wide Web?
The best place to find me is rachaelhardcastle.com. So it's ERACHAEL hardcastle.com, and my social media links and my books and my services and pretty much everything you need to know about me is on there. It's kind of the hub of my communications, and there's also an email form on there as well, so if anybody needs anything, just give us a bell.